usually I have a roadmap a year, usually a year. So from January till December, I already have a roadmap. I already have the sponsor, I already host the speaker, everything. So and then COVID came in, and then so Fire Nation attack. So I have to change and reschedule everything. That's why we change our format from the offline meetup into online meetup, online JVM meetup. That's why we've been do this since April. So since April we do JVM meetup online, not offline, because this COVID-19. Okay, and also I already gathered all the LD group on the Telegram of IT. You can access it on s.id/groups, s.id/groups. So it contains most of the Telegram IT group in Indonesia. And then you, maybe you can have it, and then you can see what is there. I have a group, and then you can PR me, send PR on the link s.id/groups, and we have Telegram, and then the others. And then we have a volunteer here. So if you want to join us as a volunteer to run this JVM meetup with me, so please let me know and contact me. And then keep calm and code, and thank you. That's an introduction from me. So if you have any more questions, please let me know. So I will check the YouTube. Okay, the YouTube is already live. Okay, thank you, Pak. Okay, seems YouTube already live. So this JVM meetup, this JVM 37 meetup is live on YouTube also. So that's why it's recorded also. So if anybody can attend this JVM meetup, they can play it on YouTube also. Okay, now we're gonna move to the next agenda. So we have, as you may see, as you already know, that we have two speakers. The first speaker will be Amitpal Singh. We call Dylan. The first speaker is Amitabh Dylan Singh. He's the Oracle Lab R&D and Director of Product Management with 12 years of experience in cybersecurity and DevOps, having worked on various leadership role and Brocade, Striker, Applied Material, and US, and Cisco System and Source Fire and Configuration, and many things. So this first session, I will handle it to Dylan. So, or about 30 minutes until 40 minutes. I'll give you, please, Dylan. Hello.
Thank you, Pat. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. Thank you. So really appreciate you guys hosting us and giving us this opportunity to present. And also thank you to the other speakers. I want to just introduce from my side, from our side, we've got Martin Luta, who's from our Master Principal Sales Consultant from the APAC team, and myself from Oracle Labs research team. So both of us will be sharing with you a perspective on some of the capabilities of GraalVM in the open source and also in the enterprise space. And we're looking forward to an interactive discussion and going forward as well. So thank you once again, and warm welcome to everybody on the call. So let me just resume the share, if you can see my screen now. All right, so thank you, and let's move on to that next slide. So just to share actually what the motivation for GraalVM was. So we see that in GraalVM, there's many hurdles with multiple runtimes. And we've seen that today, as you were mentioning, Pak Hendy, that there's developers writing code in many languages, especially in the DevOps world. You've got Java, which is a very, very big ecosystem, but there's also people writing in JavaScript, Ruby, R, and so forth. So it becomes, from a developer and also from an organization, sometimes costly and also cumbersome to maintain multiple runtimes. At the same time, it's also good to have it because a lot of people have different specializations and skill sets. So a lot of these processing frameworks, typically like Apache Spark or even database, they require multiple languages to be running together, and there's a lot of cross application access. Second, we also see that there's performance overhead sometimes, what we call like a penalty, whenever there's a process communication between one language and another. We also see there is like a management overhead, meaning that you have to manage multiple heaps, different sizes, GCs, policies, and also bugs, especially when you're looking at security today, having to patch different types of languages and things like that. So about 8 years ago, with the team at Oracle Labs, we basically started on a project close to about a decade now, and the concept there was on one virtual machine to serve all the different types of languages and different runtimes and so forth. So you can run all these different languages with high performance and also together with microservices and so forth. So there's a very good white papers written on some of these optimizations and and also the capabilities behind the scenes and so forth. And I encourage you to read it. We'll be more than happy to share it and things like that. So this was the research that began almost about a decade ago. So today we have a multilingual, what we call also a polyglot virtual machine that is about, it's 100% compatible with any language that you want to be able to, compare performance, whether it's looking at the single language virtual machines, the runtimes we have, or as a totality combined and together as well. So we've been working in Oracle Labs in this, and actually just to share with you all where Oracle Labs came from. So Oracle Labs actually is a successor of Sun Labs. So Sun Microsystems used to have a labs division. So we are a successor to that. And GraalVM is a project now that is a very key part of that it's enterprise. We also work with other technologies like machine learning and blockchain and so forth. So today's presentation is more specific to the GraalVM enterprise capability, right? So GraalVM has, what we call a love for all languages, right? So we see today in the index, there's old languages and new languages. There's always, we see a lot of code today even written in older languages that is being used. And of course, a large portion of that is in Java. And so this equal love, for all languages is important. So support for, areas like even Kotlin, now we start seeing a lot in the mobile world together with Java, and a lot of other capabilities like Groovy and so forth, and even Scala, right? With the GraalVM project, you can also go on to graalvm.org on our GitHub site, and you can see that it's there are many stars on the GitHub stars. So there's a lot of contribution actively maintained across the different types of languages across the industry, and of course with many lines of code and things like that, right? So it's actively maintained, and we really encourage you to check it out, to test it, download it, and use it, and things like that, right? So you can definitely visit graalvm.org accordingly. So now, just to set, what GraalVM Enterprise is, right? So GraalVM Enterprise, so it's a combination of 3 different things, right? So it's got a polyglot capability, it's just in time, and also it's ahead of time, right? So we all know that the Java has a JIT compiler. So GraalVM gives you this modern compiler in the sense that you are able to run it high performance. So the kind of capabilities that we see for the languages that we support and things like that, especially from a Java context and so forth, would be you typically run a just-in-time for more of the dynamic, what we call dynamic analysis, right? So these are more like complicated heavy CPU intensive applications and so forth. Also, if you are writing a lot of code in abstractions, that means like you're using a lot of abstraction features of Java, like your lambdas and streams and so forth. It will also help for these kind of optimizations and so forth. Other areas would be like, say, for example, you're already using an application server, or you're running some kind of data processing capabilities and so forth. So the polyglot capability on the top that you see is that you can actually cross link and run multiple languages without having to escape or run outside of one language and then call third-party libraries and so forth. You can actually run it on a single process on the same memory space and things like that. So that makes it a lot more efficient for you from a developer standpoint. And you'll see 3 separate demos that we're going to show shortly, right? Another interesting piece is the GraalVM Enterprise native capability, native image capability. So what we call here is the ahead of time. It's on the bottom right-hand side, right? So this is designed more for your microservices. So that means if you have native executables for your desktops, mobile, and things like that, and you want to cross-compile, you want to be able to support multiple types of desktops, and especially nowadays, as you know, a lot of people or developers are choosing different types of microservices frameworks, and they want it to start fast with low memory footprint. So things like Halidon, Quarkus, Micronaut, and Spring, right? So these are the different types, right? So when we look at the deployments in the just-in-time, whether you're running it as a substitute to another runtime, whether it's your JDK or in the context of OpenJDK, or whether you're running it ahead of time, the 5 dimensions of optimizations are important. So here we look at, when we're looking at it from a just-in-time perspective, the 2 key areas usually are the peak throughput and your reduced max latency. And on the right-hand side, when you're looking at running cloud native or rather native workloads, and you do not want to have, for example, to be carrying a JVM, and you want it to be running by itself, in like a binary in that sense. So that's where your startup speed, your memory footprint, and packaging size obviously becomes a concern. And this is where you'll be able to see fast startup, reduced memory footprint, and also smaller application size and things like that. So from here, what I'm going to do is basically transition over to showing you 3 different demos that we have actually prepared for you, right? So the first thing we're going to show you now is a demonstration of our native image, right? So in terms of how fast the startup is, and of course how fast it is and how much faster it can become. The second demo we're going to be showing you is on the security, secure sandbox capability. And then the third we're going to be showing you is on the polyglot capability and so forth. So I'm going to actually pause and transition over to my colleague's machine. And from there, you'll be able to actually see that. So Martin, if you're there, please go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thanks, Dylan, for the great intro. So basically, for the first demo, I'll show you what capability relies on native image. So basically, native image, as Dylan mentioned, it allows you to build a native binary executable, right? So when application runs on top of it, you don't really need Java anymore because it's going to be a standalone. So basically, since it might take some time for me to compile everything, so for this purpose, I'll pre-compile it for you. So basically, on how to create native image is, you can see here at the top, just native minus image, and then followed by the Java bytecode, and then the name that you like. In this case, I use stream minus before PGO. So I'm going to show you how to create an image, native binary image, and then how to make it even more faster. All right. So that's the purpose of it. The second, basically, once you have that, you want to create a PGO image. You can invoke using the second command line, which is native image minus PGO minus instrument, right? And then the third one, once you have that, it will create an intermediary, so-called a binary, which allows you to capture more inputs and study on the fly. So this is a smart executable, where it will produce a file called default iprof. Default iprof is basically
what's the benefit of moving to the enterprise GraalVM compared to its community version? I think to Dylan and Martin again to answer this question, please.
Dylan, I can take this, but you can add in.
Go ahead, Martin. Yeah.
If I miss it, okay. So basically, this is indeed a very good question, right? So we have two different flavor in GraalVM. We have community editions based on Oracle OpenJDK, and also we have the enterprise editions based on Oracle Java SE. The difference is around many factors, but I'll just mention a few of them. First is definitely performance, right? So for enterprise editions, you get to enjoy more performance compared to the community editions, right? Because we add more advanced algorithm for enterprise editions.
What's the benefit of moving to the enterprise GraalVM compared to its community version? I think to Dylan and Martin again to answer this question, please.
Dylan, I can take this, but you can add in.
Go ahead, Martin. Yeah.
If I miss it, okay. So basically, this is indeed a very good question, right? So we have two different flavor. Sorry, it's like is this a lagging or what?
I think it's just lagging.
Okay, so yeah.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I was like, what? Okay, okay. The first is definitely the performance. Put it in a very simple and easier way to understand is GraalVM Enterprise Edition comes with tons of advanced algorithm. The advanced algorithm is coming from PhD folks who actually invented GraalVM, GraalJIT in this case, and that's where you get to see most of my demo that you in fact all of my demo that you see just now is coming from Graal Enterprise Editions. From initially the C2 compiler takes 90-ish, and then if I use AOT kind of thing down to single digits, right? So again, the other good value prop for comparing and community editions and enterprise is definitely around security, right? So for GraalVM Enterprise editions, you get to see the some of the demo that I've shown you. In fact, we have another one. We call it a True Blue Sandboxing, which is a secure box by itself for LLVM bitcode interpreter. It means that you can run your C, C++, or Fortran LLVM, basically LLVM code on top of this sandbox, and you can actually do a lot of things behind the scene. You can configure it because anything calling to the syscall underlying kernel is going to be routed into the travels, and we can actually intercept and then do necessary actions. And that's why with that you can minimize or even remove the buffer overflow issues when it becomes the number one enemy of C++ developer. So that's one of the advantages if you're using Enterprise Edition. On top of that, you get more other features like for instance the debugging capability for the native image that has been created. You can even debug it using JDB, more flags, so on and so forth. So these are some of the capability in the enterprise editions.
That's really cool. Just to add, I think as Martin was pointing out, there was a pretty interesting link on our some of the areas that we look at for distributed workload. So if you're looking at comparing between community and enterprise and so forth, so we've got this link that we have shared. It's a nice sort of like a benchmark that describes a lot of modern, open, and diversified types of workloads, right, that we use for areas for programming and things like that, functional and things like that. So you will see there, there's a lot on areas like Scala. There's also on microservices and also machine learning and other naive-based theorem capabilities there and so forth. So it's a very nice one to basically look at, right, from a Renaissance standpoint for all the different types of distributed workloads and things like that. So that way you can actually see openly what is being used for what specific types of workloads, what specialization and things like that and so forth. So then you can from there go and things like that. So the other important thing also is to look at what kind of microservices that you are developing with, right? So for example, if you're developing with Spring, Micronaut, or Halidon, or Quarkus, and so forth. So all these kind of have the built-in capabilities of GraalVM, and that makes it easier for you to sort of use it for ahead of time and native image kind of capabilities out there and things like that as well. So, but it's a very, very good question, and thanks for that, and hopefully this will help you going forward from there as well.
Okay, do we have another question? Everyone, do you have any more question for Daniel or?
So this is Daniel. I just forgot to say that we have a free ebook for everybody. I just pasted on the chat the link.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to get the developer advocates book written by Gert-Jan Wilenga, who was working at the Oracle before, now he's running the open source projects at Azul. You can just click and get this book for free. So enjoy it.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. I will spread that also on my Telegram JVM Indonesia groups. I will spread away. So do we have any more question? Oh, okay, thank you, Edwin.
Bang Handi, could I ask a question?
Okay, please.
Good evening. My name is Hassani. To Martin and Dylan first. In regard to GraalVM, I've been following the Project Loom for quite a while now. Will it be supported out of the box once it is mainstream in the JDK by Graal?
Okay, Dylan, I can take that one. So
yes, please go ahead. Yeah.
Project Loom is still undergoing development, right? We are investing a lot in Project Loom. So just for the sake of everyone, Project Loom is basically to make the asynchronous looks like asynchronous framework, right? So basically for asynchronous, it's not so friendly with developers. It's very difficult to debug, and for we used to have asynchronous mode, which is easier for us to debug. Like the one I show you just now during a debug is very easy to do because it's basically a synchronous base. So Project Loom is trying to address this complexity. So they have been highly so-called expert team who developed these. They actually have what they call it fiber, which is a virtual thread, which allows you to, it's like a lightweight thread which can spawn thousands, even hundreds of thousands. And I heard one of the developer managed to run 1 million of Loom threads within its own laptop. That's amazing, right? So, and even if you notice that some a rewrite on our socket API back in JDK 14 is part of this alignment. So it means that we actually porting away our socket API to Project Loom, and not to mention if you follow JDK 15 release just last week on 15 September, we also trying to one of the Java enhancement proposals we are trying to propose is actually to rewrite our datagram API to use a Loom, right? So again, to answer the question, to answer the question, is Loom itself is still under development. So I think definitely if it is already merged back or even graduated from the experimental, and it will be ready by then. I think hopefully GraalVM should be able to pick it up. But we have no feasibility whatsoever when it's become becoming fully supported. So as of now, GraalVM supporting 2 JDK flavors, which is JDK 8 and 11. So once we hope that sometime we can also provide more upcoming LTS. LTS is stand for long-term support, which is going to be on the JDK 17, which is exactly the same month next year, which is September 2021. We're going to release JDK 17, which is the LTS versions of Java. Hopefully by then, hopefully we never know, right? Project Loom is going to be ready, and then by then also hopefully GraalVM should be able to use JDK 17. Yeah, that's basically is a roadmap that I can share with you. That's a good questions, Hannah.
Thanks, Martin. Could I have a second question? What's the equivalent of a GMX in GraalVM? Because GMX is the tools to have when you do microscopic inspection and providing in the JVM.
All right. So, okay. To answer this, basically, we have a similar runtime GRE for JMX bin. If you want to do JMX export, even doing the JFR Java Flight Recorder, GraalVM allows you to do so. But keep in mind, since JFR is commercial features within the JDK itself, you have to run it on GraalVM Enterprise editions, right? Because GraalVM Enterprise edition is using Oracle Java SE, which is the commercial based runtime from Oracle. If you want to export this JMX, for instance, if you want to measure its performance, do whatever things that you want to do, feel free to do so. But if you want to enable the JFR and then at the same time monitoring the JVM, the JMX, you can also do it, but definitely is for GraalVM Enterprise editions. Yeah.
Thanks, Martin. I really look forward for the future implementations of the GraalVM. Really interesting. And another question.
Thanks, Hassan. Just to share on that, so we've got quite a bit on the insights and profiling capabilities for Visual VM and things like that as well. But please go ahead, your next question. I just wanted to also let Martin know there's a couple of questions on the chat. Martin, if you wanted to just have a look at it while Hassani, you can go ahead with your next question also. Yeah.
My next question would be to Daniel about the Azul. On high performance data structures, I've been resorting to off-heap, and some of the part need to be written in a lower level language. So are you saying that you have a proposition where where we do not actually need to resort to off-heap solution or function call to another language, a lower level language, by using Azul?
So the answer is it depends. First, we support all the APIs that you have in the Java language. So if you are using off-heap or unsafe classes, they all are supported in Zing. So they will run exactly the same way. You don't need to change anything. And it depends why you decided to use off-heap. Sometimes you did this because you wanted to limit the memory usage or heap usage of your application, because if you did this in memory, in heap memory, then the poses for the garbage collector will be just too high. If you did this because of that, then you can easily move to heap with Zing, and then if your memory size is below 8 terabytes, it will fit into the memory, into the heap memory, and the pauses will be, milliseconds long. So I think the answer to your question is yes. And we have seen a lot of companies, especially in the low latency space, doing exactly like that, going into the off heap, but then it is complicated. It is not easy and cheap to write. You will be able to add additional bugs. You may even cause a crash of the JVM. So, if you are only doing this for the garbage collector improvement, then yes, you can just move to in-heap and it will work much better.
Okay, thank you, Daniel.
Okay, thank you, Hassani, and thank you, Daniel. And we have another question. So yeah, I think Martin already answered about this.
And there is one question from Rivaldi. I think it is for me about the custom JVM and the production use. So as I mentioned on the last question, Zing is fully compatible JVM, and we are a licensee of the TCK test suite from Oracle, meaning that our JVM will behave exactly the same from the functional point of view. So if you have a production application that works fine, just use whatever JVM you like, and that's it. If you have any issues like garbage collector poses, or the throughput is not good enough, or you want to use lower amount of instances on AWS or any other cloud, you can try Zing. And yes, it's not free, but the test is free. You can download Zing for 30 days, run this on your environment, even in production, and see if it improves or fixes your issues. We have seen that people, for example, saved money on AWS by using less instances, and the price for Zing was lower than the benefits that they got from migration. So I think you should consider Zing or any other custom JVM if you have some issues that you want to fix. If you are developing your application and you don't use the full capacity of this, there will be no additional benefits that you will be able to see.
I hope Daniel answered your question, Valdi. So, do you have any more question, guys? You can directly chat, and then, or you can unmute yourself and then give your question to the speaker. Oh, yes. So if we don't have any more questions, so before we close, oh, there's more question from Edwin also again. Does subscription for both GraalVM Enterprise and Azul Zing, is it for all environment or production environment only? I think for Oracle and Azul also, but first from Oracle team first. Okay.
Dylan, you want me to answer this or?
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Okay, that's subscription for both. Okay, for GraalVM, yeah, I can't talk on behalf of Azure. So for GraalVM, I think I need to rephrase the question. Maybe you are asking whether GraalVM subscription required for productions environment only, something like that, right? So, so basically, yes, as I outlined in my previous chat, GraalVM has been in the market for quite some time, right? GraalVM is a decade of efforts within Oracle Labs, and we went to GA last year. GA means fully general available and fully supported by Oracles, right? Okay, so but if you think that it is only for productions, I think I need to rephrase that. It is suitable for any environment, right? But again, at the end of the day, if you are really talking about productions and require a support, and then have a peace of mind, quote unquote, when you are sleeping, right, without any worry, any anxious whatsoever, then yeah, you definitely need to get the subscription from Oracle. But again, in order to tell you that this is a so-called stable product, in fact, Twitter that Dylan shared earlier on has been running GraalVM 3 years now. It's not even when GraalVM GA yet. So they've been running for 3 years now, and they've enjoyed quite a lot of things. They got to enjoy 10+% performance increment out of the box, out of nothing. Just swap the existing JDK that they have, with GraalVM, and not to mention the number of other things such as zero issues after running for quite some time. Those kind of thing that you get to see. In fact, Oracle OCI ourselves, which is within our telemetry service, running GraalVM Enterprise for quite some time now, and they get to enjoy more than 10% performance increment, 25%, reduce garbage collections, and then and tons of other things comes with GraalVM. So yeah, to answer your questions, definitely GraalVM is production ready. Maybe Daniel, you want to answer your.
Yes, so from our point of view, I think the answer will be short. Yes, you need to have a subscription or license for each environment, production and non-production, but typically we see that you use Zing in production and then in pre-production only, so you don't need to have this on development workstations. But the answer is yes, all the Zing instances that you use need to have active subscription.
We have more questions from Edwin also. Let's say I'm having GraalVM in passive DR environment. Should I pay for its subscription as well? Maybe, yeah, for Martin.
Okay, so in order, okay, when we talk about subscriptions, please be notified that in order to run GraalVM as of now, you are required to have a valid Oracle Java SE subscriptions, right? So when we talk about Oracle Java SE subscriptions for a disaster recovery environment, you are allowed to have one unlicensed node for a cluster. Say, for instance, you are running a VMware clusters of maybe 10 bare metal servers. You are allowed to have one DR node, unlicensed DR node, but that is only for 10 days. It's as in like if let's say that node is being up for more than 10 days, you are also required to get that node license as well. So I think in terms of a licensing model, I think for GraalVM, definitely. I mean, I think Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong. The model is pretty much the same because anyway, GraalVM is running on Oracle Java SE. So yeah, I think that will be my answer as of now. I'm more than happy to rephrase it if let's say there is another a news come out from our management team with regards to GraalVM licensing. But as of now, yes, GraalVM requires Oracle Java SE, and Oracle Java SE requires you to to have allows you to have one unlicensed per cluster, right? So that's basically about it. I'm more than happy to dig it and take it offline with you, Edwin, if you have further questions. Dylan, feel free to add in if I miss anything.
Yeah, that's great, Martin. Just to add that, as Martin pointed out, with the especially with the support and so forth, we've got this, it's not just support, it's actually regional support. So you got all that capability in the region and things like that. So that actually really helps you. So behind the scenes, of course, you have access to a lot of the research, intelligence, and things like that as well. So we'd be happy to share more as Martin pointed out and things like that. But great questions on that, Edwin and Hassani and so forth. We'd be happy to take it offline, and thank you.
Okay, since you have more question, if someone has a question, please. So I counted on until 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So since we don't have any more questions, so we will end this JVM meetup. So before we end this session, this JVM meetup, would you mind to turn on your video, and then let's take a screenshot for this JVM meetup as 37. So everyone, please turn on your video, and then we're gonna take some photo. Okay. Yes, good. Okay. Okay, everyone. Yeah, still waiting. Yes. Okay. Turn on your video first. Turn on your video, please, so you can so we can take a screenshot. Okay. Okay. Let's wait. Good. Aji, Mas Ivan, come on. Aditya. Okay. Aji, Romi, Mahendra, Ari, Anasha. Okay. Uva, take shot. Okay. Subekti, Takat, Ivan, Abuza, Romi, please. So you can have a full profile with screenshot. Okay. Okay, let's count on 3 ya. 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3. Once again, give it up. JVM 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dylan and Martin from Oracle. Thank you, Daniel from Azul Zing. So nice to have you here to be our speaker on JVM 37. So we have we have another session for the next JVM meetup. So please, if you want to be our speaker, please let's talk about another topic later. So thank you for your topic. Thank you for having a speaker here. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so I will end up the session. So after that, I will send you to all participants about feedback. I will send you the link on the email, and also I will send the link from Daniel about the free ebook. So I will send it to all the participants that already gave reservation on this JVM Meetup 37. Okay, thank you, everyone. See you soon. See you on the next JVM Meetup 38 with Microsoft. So good evening, everyone. Good evening in Indonesia.
Thank you.
Good day on Daniel and
guys.
Thank you, Pak
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Makasih Kang Andy.
Bye. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.